Humiliation. It doesn't just sting, it haunts. It's that moment you replay in your head over and over again, long after everyone else has forgotten, long after the laughter fades and the room clears out. You're still there, stuck in that one freeze frame. But what if I told you humiliation isn't the death of your power? It's the birthplace of it. Because here's the truth. The Machiavellian doesn't fear public shame. He studies it, learns from it, and then uses it. To the average person, humiliation feels like game over. But to the Machiavellian mind, it's not an ending. It's a setup for a quiet, brutal reversal. A twist in the story where the one who mocked ends up bleeding. But before you learn how to flip that script, you need to understand why humiliation is such a powerful weapon in the first place. It's not just the embarrassment. It's about positioning, control, social framing. When someone humiliates you, especially in public, they're doing three things all at once. 1, they seize the narrative, shaping how others see you before you've even opened your mouth. 2, they lower your status, pulling attention to themselves and handing you a spotlight soaked in shame. And 3, they test your reaction, because how you respond will determine if you're respected, pitied, or just dismissed. And the truth is, most people fail that test. They overreact, they explain, they get loud or shrink away in silence. They try to fix it, to clean up their image. But Machiavelli would tell you this: the worst move you can make is letting them know they landed a hit. The second you look rattled, defensive, or desperate, you've given them everything they wanted. You've just confirmed the attack worked. So what's the move? You don't respond to the insult. You respond to the crowd. Because here's the part no one talks about. The crowd matters more than the attacker. In humiliation, it's not just about what someone said, it's about who heard it. So your counter doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be surgical, psychological theater. You don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with frame. Step 1, neutralize the stage. When someone mocks you, they're expecting emotion. They want you flustered, they're counting on it. Instead, you go still, not weak. Still, controlled silence, unblinking eye contact, maybe a slow, surgical smirk. That moment isn't for the attacker, it's for the audience. Because what you're signaling isn't fear, it's calculation. And that alone shifts the energy instantly. Why? Because people are naturally afraid of the unpredictable. And silence from someone who was just publicly shamed? That's unpredictable. That's unsettling. The crowd starts wondering, what's he thinking? Why isn't she reacting? What does he know that we don't know? And now the focus has shifted, not to the insult, but to your poise. Your restraint becomes the story. Step 2, reframe the attack as their weakness. This is where the real strategy begins. Machiavelli didn't just survive public attacks, he inverted them. Let's say someone mocks your appearance, your past, your failure. You don't argue, you don't explain, you just drop one cold, perfectly timed line. It's revealing how badly you needed to say that. Or, that's a lot of performance for such little impact. And boom, the dynamic flips. You're not defending yourself, you're dissecting their desperation. You've just reframed their attack as a cry for relevance. Now they're the one exposed. Not as witty or dominant, but as needy. The room goes quiet, not because you got angry, but because you reversed the emotional current. This is psychological judo. You don't fight their force, you redirect it. Step 3. Own your flaw before they can weaponize it again. If the insult they used is based on something true, a real mistake, a known insecurity, don't dodge it. Own it. But own it with presence. You say, yeah, that happened, and I'm still standing while you're reaching. Or, they've tried that one before, still says more about them than me. Why does this work? Because you've just disarmed the weapon, you've stripped it of its sting, and more than that, you've turned it into a badge, a scar you're not afraid to show. And when you own a scar with calmness and confidence, it becomes intimidating. Because now you're untouchable, not because you've never been hit, but because you don't flinch when you are. That's the Machiavellian move. You stop playing by the emotional rules of the crowd. You stop seeking their approval and start controlling the frame. Your goal after humiliation isn't to look strong, it's to look unbreakable. That's a subtle but deadly difference, because looking strong still invites challengers, but unbreakable? That makes people hesitate. Machiavelli believed that the perception of invincibility is more powerful than actual invincibility. If people believe you can't be humiliated because you refuse to play by the rules that allow it, then they'll take thanks before trying. And if they do try again, you don't just survive their second attack. You own the stage they built to break you and turn it into your throne. Because there's no greater revenge than showing someone they can't even touch you. But make no mistake, this kind of power isn't natural. It's forged, cultivated, built in the aftermath of betrayal, rejection, embarrassment. And only those who master the perception game come out stronger. Because at the core, humiliation isn't about the insult. It's about interpretation. And whoever controls the interpretation controls the outcome. Whether it's a classroom, a dinner party, a workplace, or a comment section, the person who shapes the meaning of a moment holds the power. That's why Machiavelli didn't believe in retaliation. He believed in redirection. He turned attacks into reveals. He made the attacker's punchline into their confession. Because when you stop defending and start reframing, when you stop reacting and start observing, when you stop trying to win and start controlling the narrative, you don't just survive humiliation. You become untouchable. Let's take this even deeper. Imagine someone throws a jab your way, a well-timed, crowd-pleasing insult. Maybe it's something like, "Didn't you screw that up last time too?" Now most people get flushed, embarrassed. They fumble for excuses or try to laugh it off, or worse, defend. That's exactly what the attacker wants. They've laid the trap, and most people walk right into it. But not the Machiavellian. He doesn't take the bait. He rewrites the script. So what do you do instead? You pause. Let the silence stretch just long enough to make people slightly uncomfortable. Then, with calm precision, you say, "You've been holding on to that one for a while, haven't you?" That's it. Just that. Suddenly, it's not about your failure anymore. It's about their obsession. The moment flips. Now they're the one who looks small, bitter, petty, because you've made their performance about them. That's the beauty of the Machiavellian reversal. It doesn't deny the attack. It reframes it. You don't dodge, you don't flinch. You let the insult pass through you, and in doing so, you expose what they didn't want seen. This principle is ancient. The Stoics lived by it. Sun Tzu hinted at it. But Machiavelli brought it into real life. courtrooms, councils, social circles. He understood one thing. In the theater of power, the most dangerous person isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who listens, waits, and responds with meaning, not emotion. One of his most brutal tactics? Make their insult look like a confession. Let me show you how that works. Say someone publicly mocks you for overcompensating when you're speaking seriously. They're trying to frame you as insecure, someone who's trying too hard. But instead of defending, you just tilt your head slightly and say, "That's interesting to notice. You speak from experience." Devastating. You've just flipped their attack into a subtle suggestion that they're projecting. Now they have to scramble, explain, backpedal. And the crowd? They see it. They feel the power shift. You haven't raised your voice. You haven't insulted back. You've simply exposed their game, and now they're stuck explaining why they played it. Because here's the truth. People who humiliate others often do it to hide something. Their own fear, their own insecurity, their own need to feel important, even if just for a moment. So when you reflect their words back at them, not with anger, but with a kind of surgical curiosity, you don't just survive, you control. That's how you take humiliation and turn it into dominance. Because most people think winning means walking away without scars. But Machiavellians don't avoid the scars. They turn them into symbols. Here's what really matters. In any public moment, especially one designed to humiliate, the crowd doesn't remember what was said. They remember who looked in control. That's it. Your face becomes the frame. Your voice becomes the anchor. And your silence becomes the suspense. And when you finally speak, if you even choose to, it has to sound like strategy, not defense, like you saw the whole thing coming and let it unfold. Because when you take a moment designed to break you and make it look like you orchestrated it from the start, that's when the laughter stops and fear begins. Because here's the real secret. Humiliation only lasts if you agree to the role of victim. But when you flip the script and act like you architected the moment, you become untouchable. That's real Machiavellian power. You don't try to win the insult. You win the narrative. You don't try to recover. You make them regret trying. Machiavelli believed this above all. Power isn't about being loud or quick or clever. It's about being so calm, so unreadable, so unshakably precise in the moment that the attacker starts doubting whether they should have said anything at all. Because the truth is, what makes humiliation destructive isn't the words, it's the emotional collapse that follows. The panic, the rushed explanation, the awkward laugh, the trying too hard energy that screams, "Please like me again." And that's where most people fall. They try to fix it too fast. But power moves slow. It doesn't scramble. It drops. It grounds. It controls the tempo. So next time someone throws a jab your way, slow the moment down. Let the silence expand. Let them feel the discomfort of their own performance. And let your stillness say one thing. This is beneath me. Because the second you match their energy, you validate the game. But when you remain calm, grounded, maybe even slightly amused, you've already started reversing the humiliation. Let's look at this in real time. You're in a group. You're sharing an idea, speaking clearly, confidently. Then someone interjects with a sarcastic jab. Wow, you think everything you say is that deep? The average person would stammer or defend. No, I was just saying. Boom. You just gave them power. You entered self-defense mode, and that means they win. Now try it the Machiavellian way. You pause. You make gentle, unwavering eye contact. Not angry, just observant. Then say, "Interesting how much that bothered you." No shouting, no insult. Just a mirror, a scalpel. You've turned the moment from, "Why are you so deep?" to, "Why are they so threatened by it?" And now the crowd starts seeing it too. That's the reversal. Use their attack as your spotlight, not to show yourself off, but to show them for who they are. And you don't need a clever comeback every time. Sometimes just being still is enough. Just holding your posture, staying grounded, letting your eyes say what your words don't, because humiliation is a performance. And every performance needs three things: a stage, a spotlight, and an audience. If you control the audience, you control the meaning. That's why when someone throws an insult your way, your response isn't for them, it's for the room. Every gesture, every pause, every micro-expression should say, "I'm choosing not to respond, not because I'm weak, but because I've already won." And that's unsettling, because humiliation is supposed to throw you off balance. But when you stay centered, when you don't flinch, you break the script. And unreadable people, they're always feared. Now, here's a brutal truth most miss. A lot of humiliation is rehearsed. That jab someone threw at you in front of others, they've said it before, practiced it, maybe even tested it behind your back. So when they bring it out in public, they're looking for a reaction they can control. But what if you show no reaction at all? Let's say someone says, "Don't worry, you'll get it right eventually." Maybe. Laughter, smirks. The group looks to you. Here's what you do. You lean in, just slightly, and with a cold little smile, say, "That one sounded rehearsed. You've been saving it, huh?" Boom. Now it's not about whether you got it right or not. It's about them, their obsession, their premeditation. You've made them look like they spend more time thinking about you than you do about them. And the crowd? They feel it. They shift in their seats. The joke's not funny anymore. It's awkward. And your attacker? They just became the punchline. That's the reversal.
Here's where we go even deeper. Because not all humiliation is loud. Sometimes it's subtle. Quiet exclusion. Being ignored, talked over, interrupted. That creeping sense of invisibility that doesn't come with a punchline, but with silence. So what does the Machiavellian do in that situation? Step 1. You don't chase inclusion. That's what they want. They want you to lean in, to prove yourself, to try harder to be accepted. But every time you chase, you validate their dominance. You become the one seeking approval. So instead, step 2. You disengage strategically, not emotionally. You don't sulk, you don't pout, you don't storm off. You just redirect your attention. You look away. You shift focus. You speak to someone else. Or better yet, you engage your phone. Check your watch. Stay present, but not dependent. What you're saying without words is this: I don't crave your validation. I control where I place my value. And now, step 3. Reframe the room. You start generating gravity somewhere else. You find a corner of the room where you can create momentum. You add value to a different conversation. You draw people towards you with calm, effortless presence. And soon, the ones who tried to exclude you realize they lost control. They lost your attention, and with it, the social spotlight they tried to steal. Machiavelli knew that attention is currency. When you stop spending it on people who try to humiliate you, you bankrupt their influence. But here's the final and most brutal lesson. Sometimes, you don't need to say anything. You just let them dig their own grave. Because the people who rely on humiliation are often addicts, hooked on attention. And if you let them keep talking, without interrupting, without reacting, they will eventually say too much. They'll push too far. They'll lose the crowd. All while you sit there, untouched, unmoved, watching. And then one sentence, just one. When the moment's ripe, you drop it like a knife. You seem really committed to this performance. Then silence. Let it hang in the air. You've just reframed everything. You've shown the entire room that this wasn't a spontaneous joke. It was theater. And now, it's crumbling. You win. Because humiliation only works if you're still trying to protect your image. But when you've detached from that need, when you're no longer afraid of being seen as flawed, misunderstood, even disliked, you become dangerous. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're immune. That's what real psychological armor looks like. It's not the kind that blocks attacks. It's the kind that makes people think twice before throwing one. Because they know you won't react. You'll reflect. And they'll be the one under the microscope. Power doesn't shout. Power doesn't scramble. True power, Machiavellian power, is still. It watches. It waits. And when it finally moves, it does so with surgical precision. That's the mindset you need to embody. Because the people who humiliate you in public aren't just insulting you. They're doing something far more calculated. They're trying to rewrite your identity warfare right in front of your audience. That's the real danger. This isn't just about getting embarrassed. It's identity warfare. And if you don't push back, not with anger, but with frame control, then their version of you becomes the one people remember. So how do you stop that? It's not the clever line. It's not the smirk. It's your refusal to be framed. Because once someone successfully paints you as desperate, arrogant, insecure, irrelevant, and you act like it's true, you reinforce their narrative. And now every future interaction gets filtered through that image. That's why you need to destroy the frame before it sets. Here's how. 1. Disrupt the rhythm. Humiliation is almost always rehearsed. They've planned the moment, practiced the line, timed it for effect. They expect you to react in a certain way.
Just do something unexpectedly calm. Pause, sip your drink, tilt your head, raise a single brow, say absolutely nothing. That silence, it throws off the entire performance. Now the spotlight is on you, not as the victim, but as the wild card. And they start to lose control of the moment. Because the crowd, they sense it. They stop laughing. They start watching you. Now, you're the one in charge of what happens next. 2. Deliver the precision cut. After you've broken the rhythm, it's time to speak, but not to defend. Never to defend. You speak to expose the neediness of your attacker. Let's say someone mocks your idea. Did you really think that was impressive? Don't explain. Don't retreat. Just say, strange how much attention you give me for someone who's not impressed. Now it's not about whether your idea was good. It's about why they are so focused on you. The crowd catches it. They don't need it explained. It lands. 3. Don't be right. Be undeniable. This one is counterintuitive. Most people try to win arguments with facts, but in social dynamics, facts don't win. Frame does. The one who looks composed, calm, grounded, that's the one who wins the room. So instead of arguing your case, say, "That's one interpretation, but the fact that you needed to say it says more than the words themselves." That's power. Cold, clear, unapologetic. You've just rejected their reality without ever raising your voice. And now their version of the moment is collapsing. 4. Let dignity echo. Once you've reversed the humiliation, leave. Not physically, but emotionally, socially. Don't brag, don't revisit it, don't retell it later for validation. Let the silence echo. That silence becomes your reputation. People will whisper about it later. He didn't even flinch. She made them look small without even trying. That's the Machiavellian elevation. You took the moment designed to break you and turned it into a demonstration of your dominance. 5. Anticipate the next trap. Because when you win like this, it won't be the last time they come for you. They'll try again, but smarter, maybe more subtle, maybe through someone else. They'll compliment you with poison hidden inside. The last question's designed to corner you. They'll create moments of silence meant to isolate you. Be ready. Because the Machiavellian doesn't just survive attack, he expects it. And when it comes, he doesn't react. He observes. He watches the performance unfold, lets it run too long, and then, only if necessary, he says one thing. One line. A quiet scalpel that cuts the performance in half and ends the scene forever. Because when someone tries to humiliate a Machiavellian, they walk into a trap of their own making. And the worst part for them, the moment doesn't end with you being embarrassed. It ends with them wondering why they ever tried you in the first place.